Hi everyone, it's Penny Black and Jill Foster here with another PB&J card class, and we are continuing right on with our 12 Days of Christmas card making and stash busting sketches. So quick before we begin, if this is your first time seeing these videos, this is actually number 7 out of 12, and I consider stash to be products you already own, use, and love, or products you've purchased but you haven't had a chance to use them yet. And stash busting is finding a way to break through any barriers to using your stash so that you can really enjoy your supplies and really get in there and enjoy your hobby. And I find that sketches are a really great way to do some stash busting. They give you a starting off point. They limit your choices, which for me is always a good thing, and they provide structure and they give a home for those items that you've purchased and you want to use. So when I'm doing stash busting, I like to have 2 boxes. The first is a sketch box. In this box, I pre-prep about 3 to 4, enough for 3 to 4 cards of each sketch that I'm sharing with you throughout this series. And then I keep those for each card in its own envelope. So when I want to sit down and create something, I can just grab that out. Then I have a stash box, and if you want to see more closer in-depth look at my stash box, I'll link to a video of that down below. But in my stash box, I collect those stamps and dies and stencils or foiling, stick and shine that I want to be sure to use. So I go to this box then to shop for the items that are going to go on my sketch on that home or in that home. So here is the sketch that we are doing today. This is what I like to call the letter O filler because I can't think of a different name for it. But with our large creative die NOEL, it leaves you with this big O, which you can then fill with those items from your stash. We also have an immense joy die that works great for this as well. So from my stash box, I have multiple times cut that NOEL die, and I've created sort of those other elements for the die, and then I've went through my stash box and picked out stamps that I think fit well. Now you can do cute to elegant to whimsical stamps. They all really work well with this particular sketch and this NOEL word, or if you're using another one of our die cuts like the Immense Joy, it works well for that too. I went ahead and stamped those onto Canson 140-pound watercolor paper using watering can ink. This is an Archival ink and it is waterproof. And then I'm going to go ahead and just paint those in using Distress Ink Reinkers used as watercolors. And if you want a more in-depth video on how I like to do my painting and a little bit slower, I will link that for you down in the YouTube description box below. But I am just doing some pretty simple painting on these. I'm just adding a touch of pink, a little bit of some dried marigold, and then blending those together to create kind of a peachy pink color. And I love with Christmas cards to add a little bit of pink, and I decided to kind of keep with that palette for this set of cards. I'm going to go ahead and add some traditional red as well. Now these I am going to fussy cut out before I sort of add them to the letter O in NOEL, but this also works great if you have any stamps and dies in your stash that have exact match dies. That works well for that, or you can fill that letter O with just die cuts as well. So lots of different options for this particular sketch. And it's definitely one where you don't have to make too many decisions because the layout is really already done for you. It's just a matter of going to that stash box and picking out what stamps you really want to use. And I am working assembly line style, so I did all of the stamping, and then I will do all of the painting for these 3 cards. And then I will go ahead and dry that before moving on to the next step. Just trying to fix that there where it bled a little bit. I think I got it pretty good. And it doesn't need to be perfect. That's really the beauty of watercolor, is it's supposed to have that sort of charm of that little bit of white that's left, like you can see there on the stocking. Now I decided on this one also to go a little non-traditional, and I'm going to do these leaves in a sort of vintage brown. And I really love how that turned out, but I do think it would also be really cute and really pretty if you did this in more traditional colors, reds and greens, and even a little bit of white on there would be pretty too. Let me know in the comments down below, do you like to use very traditional colors on your Christmas cards, or do you like to mix it up every once in a while and throw in a little something unexpected, like some pink or some different shades on your leaves? I always like to know what everyone else likes to do. For the most part, I think I go pretty traditional, but every once in a while, especially if I'm making a lot of cards, I do like to throw something a little unexpected. This is from our Floral Festivities set, and if you take a look at that set, there's lots of really great images that would be nice with this sort of letter O filler idea. So I went ahead and I just fussy cut out all of the stamps that I had chosen. And now I'm going to work on all those elements that are part of this sketch. So you could cut this word Noel from colored cardstock to match. I find it's much easier for me just to go ahead and paint it. So I cut it from that same Canson 140-pound watercolor paper, and then I just paint it, and then it matches really well to the stamped images. Or I use my inks and an ink blending tool to just kind of do some foam ink blending on top of the die cut piece. Now all of the exact colors that I'm using, all of the supplies that I'm using, papers, ink colors, paint colors, everything's listed for you down in the YouTube description box below. And I also will list and link all of the Penny Black products used for each of these cards. So here's another Noel. I'm doing in a little bit different color. And I kind of kept the same colorway for all of 3 of these cards, but mixed up sort of where I placed that color. But you could also go really different with all of them as well. Now I cut this edge using our border collection die. So I like to add just a little something to the bottom of this piece as part of the sketch. You could do scallops, you could use a punch if you have a punch in your stash that you're wanting to use. And I'm going to glue 2 of the Noel die cuts together. This is just a way to give a little dimension to that die cut without having to like mess around with lots of little pieces of foam tape behind the die cut piece. So just glue 2 of those together, and they're both cut from watercolor paper, so it's just the right amount of dimension once it goes on the card, and it's really easy to do. Now to go with this Noel die cut, we also have a stamp set, a miniature 3x4-inch stamp set, Noel Builder, with some secondary sentiments that you can add with it, and I'm going to use those on my cards. I had that in place there, just held in place just for placement, and then I went ahead and stamped that. Now this paper was embossed with one of our this is a new product line for us, Embossing Folders. This is the variegated design, and I am just inking some Pistachio Memento ink on top. I love this embossing folder because it's beautiful for Christmas, but you really can use it any time of year, so it's a really great investment. I'm putting a little bit, I believe it's Forest Moss Distress ink right on top of that, and that's my favorite way to use embossing folders. Not anything fancy, but it just adds so much. Here's another one of our new embossing folders. This is the geometric design. Again, we're giving you really versatile designs so that you can use these over and over for different seasons on different kinds of projects. So I'm just inking on top of this. And you can see I'm just continuing with that sort of assembly line style for each part of the sketch for each card. And I think that just adds so much to these cards. And this is the dashed design embossing folder. So I'm just going to put a little bit of ink on top of that. give you a look there at that beautiful texture. So I'm going to go ahead and glue down my large Noel die cut. This is the immense Noel die cut. You can see I have that secondary sentiment stamped. All of those secondary sentiments are from that Noel builder set. And then I'm going to pop up my focal point image. So you can see there, you could easily with this sketch go into your stash and have a place, have a home for those stamps or dies right there on that letter O with the Noel. I also went ahead and painted just a couple of, one strip for each card of cardstock to put up at the top. I felt like it just needed a little something extra up there. Also could have used colored cardstock, but it was easier for me just to paint it than I knew it would match. And it also keeps with that sort of handmade watercolor look. And I'm just going to get that along there on top and trim off the excess. And then I will pop up this panel using some foam adhesive. And then I put together the other two cards exactly the same way, following the same process. And I'm also going to add a little embellishment, so you can add some die cuts. I always like to have, for Christmas cards, some little snowflakes prepped and ready to go in that stash box. And then also some self-adhesive pearls are another way to embellish these cards. So on this one I just added a little snowflake, and then here I'm just going to add a few little pearls. And same with this one, I'll add some pearls, let's see, right over here. And now all three cards are complete. So I'll give you a look at those. I just love especially that texture of those embossing folders down at the bottom. For me, that's what totally finished these off. So again, here's a look at that sketch. What I would call like the letter O filler. A great home for any of those stamps or dies that you have in your stash. And here's another look at each of those cards using that sketch. I hope you enjoyed this video and that you're continuing to enjoy the Stash Busting Sketches video series. If you haven't subscribed yet, please be sure to hit that subscribe button. You can ring the bell so you're notified every time we upload a new video. And be sure to give this video a thumbs up. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. Happy stamping!